Huni has been playing phenomenally this summer split of 2019, and I think this is actually probably his best split since I would argue his Immortal days, where they went 17-1. And during this time, you could look back and look at, say, for instance, his SKT days, right? Which was good in terms of, just accomplishments of getting far into Worlds, but the team still revolved around Faker and Bang mostly. And Huni was essentially put on tank duty for the most part. And so Clutch Gaming is a lot different in how they function, in that they revolve around Huni and Diamante. And then, of course, recently they've been allowing Cody Sun to step in too. So you can see that this is kind of Huni's team, right? It's something in which he is, first of all, in a leadership role along with Lyra, but not only that, he's probably the most talented player on that entire roster. And so it's kind of his split to show that he can lead a team and he can become sort of the pinnacle of a team itself. Again, right? Because he was one of those carry star players on Immortals as well too. So it's been a minute in terms of just him being able to carry an entire team. That's not to say Clutch Gaming is bad, but he is literally the focal point of the team. So now recently, I think the biggest improvement of Huni by far has been that he has significantly reduced his deaths during this entire summer split. He has not inted quite a bit. I mean, we even saw him perform well in the regional finals against TSM, with the one play where he's like dodging death for his team to get top inhibitor. And so, like, it's just instances like these to where even if he does die, he ends up getting something for it. And whether that be through, I guess, the hard effort of the rest of the team recognizing that he has, I guess, sort of this weakness, you would say, of going for super ballsy plays, even if maybe pressure is still existing on his side of the map in terms of enemy pressure. He's still going to make these big ballsy plays, but his team recognizes that and then either does a counterplay or actually helps him out. And oftentimes Lyra will go up there and path up there to help him out. So we can see there's this kind of paradigm shift in terms of how a team operates around how aggressive Huni is, and this is a really good thing. But it's not only that, it's the fact that he has actually toned down his aggression quite a bit to where he's not doing, I would say, like idiotic aggression, right? Something that is like a blind rage. I make the most, I guess, apt comparison to someone who is incredibly skilled, say, at fighting, yet they can get in a blind rage, and then so all of a sudden maybe all of their martial arts aren't useful because they're in a rage, right? They aren't in control of themselves, so they're in a completely different environment than when they are during training. But if you get someone that's actually an experienced person at fighting, and then they are able to quell those types of emotions, they become this ridiculous fighter. And even when you do piss off someone that's really experienced in, say, fighting, or even like in the field that I know, driving, if you piss off a really experienced driver, say in Formula 1 or whatever, it's only going to up their level, actually, because once you get towards a certain point of skill, you can channel emotions to where they actually improve your performance. And so with that said, I think that's actually the level at which Huni is able to play now. He's able to channel this emotion of always going in, always going hard, always wanting to carry, this fierce aggression, into something in which he can actually use, rather than just recklessness, abandonment, and just kind of uncoordinated aggression, which ends up being his extreme faulty characteristic of himself. And that's why he got taken advantage of back in the day. Now, you look at the champion pool of his teammates, it just balances well with his own champion pool, right? You got Lyra playing Gragas, Sejuani, Skarner, and those are like his three main champions. and play incredibly well into the characteristics of Huni, right? Huni will have an early aggression when it comes to this, and I think also this current meta favors him too, because there aren't too many early game junglers to where that you can get incredibly punished, right? There's like Jarvan out of all of those junglers, but other than that, it's like, well, Sejuani kind of want to wait until 6. Skarner wants to wait until 6, definitely. Gragas, yeah, he can make some plays here and there, but 6 is when he really turns on too. So pretty much just have Jarvan as like this kind of early game aggression jungler that's being played frequently. Of course, we've seen instances of Elise and whatnot, but for the main part, it has slowed down in terms of the jungler presence of just making very proactive plays early on, and that's helped Huni in terms of just him being super aggressive for the most part. Damonte playing Qiyana, Sylas, Aurelia, it draws pressure away from Huni's lane too, to where now you have to be concerned about this guy in the fucking mid lane. And by the way, Damonte's playing like a beast too. So you just have all these different champion pools that complement Huni very well, to where he's able to open so much, and especially in terms of flex picks, right? Which was the magic of last year, and that's why Clutch Gaming was such a threat last year, was because of their flex picks. But then, you know, obviously they got caught onto, and you just ban flex picks against Clutch, and you win the game automatically, right? So the best thing is that Huni, it just in terms of his entire playstyle and how he's able to make plays across the map, or just how he's able to dictate what his team does, is that he's not put on a short leash at all. He's able to play the playstyle, exactly the playstyle that he wants, but kind of to an extent, to a different degree, right? He still has to tone down his aggression. He still has to make plays that actually make sense, rather than back in the day where he just kind of fucking entered his ass off. So now it's become to where he's able to actually make these aggressive plays, probably call them out and say that he's going to do that, and give his teammates enough time to actually respond to the plays that he's doing. And I think the coaching staff involved within this, I'm sure, has played a part in how Huni has developed in this Clutch Gaming roster. And as far as Lyra, it's not that Lyra has played the style that he wants. He's learned just to adapt to Huni, right? He's learned, okay, from my time on Envy, where I just tried to carry the game as hard as possible, I will now allow someone else to carry, and I will focus a lot of attention towards Huni, who's a very capable person in doing that. So it's about this trust, I guess, this synergy that has been developed between these two players, and with also Damonte too. I think their progression has grown a lot. Now, like Kelsey Moser said in her article, it's not bad that Clutch are predictable in this entirety of their formation. It's the point of if you can stop that perfection, which is cool, right? They go for the 10-minute Rift Herald. They have a pretty predictable draft, but it's a fact of, well, can you stop it? Can you entirely destroy what they have ultimately honed in on and perfected? And in that regard, no, I don't think you can if you're not a very strong team, right? And especially if you aren't a strong team against that specific type of strategy. So Huni has always been, you know, this I guess you could say robust voice in his teams, the one guy that gets very excited. And I think that in itself is partly what makes him very valuable, is that he's kind of like the life of the party, which is pretty necessary. You need different personalities in order for a team to mesh together. And surprisingly, that's balanced by Cody's son too, one that's been noted as, you know, inexperienced yet a calm voice. And so you have Huni, the fucking hype man that is like just going ridiculous and going balls to the wall over in the top lane, and then you have the reassuring calm voice of Cody's son that says, no, let's go ahead and hold back, let's wait for this, let's wait for this objective, and then we kind of strike. So there's a voice of reason, and then there's this voice that says, let's do something fucking crazy. And you need both of those voices. In fact, you actually need to do something crazy eventually in order to gain an enormous edge over your opponent, and that's what Huni is. And I think just this combination of this roster has helped him flourish into what he is today, come at the end of the summer split, and now them making worlds over TSM. So I think I bet that Huni he's proven that he's one of the best top laners still to this day, and it's madness to go 1v1 against him. He still has proven that he has the ability to trash almost any top laner in the entire league when it comes to just the 1v1 itself. And oftentimes it has come to the 1v1, right? Because of junglers either Lyra matching the enemy jungler and being able to kind of back Huni up if he does go for a ridiculous play, or just them not being able to pay attention to the top lane anyways, because either Damonte demands pressure against him, or Cody Sun and Vulcan demand pressure against them in the bot lane. So I just think this entire team is molded well. I think Huni has actually come into his own, and the reason why I kind of allude Huni to this tamed, domesticated tiger is because in all actuality you can't fucking really fully domesticate a tiger, right? A tiger is still gonna fuck some shit up if it really wants to fuck some shit up. So you can never take the tiger out of a tiger, right? So Huni's just like that. You can't take the Huni out of Huni, right? So your best bet is to at least try and manage it as much as possible. But when the Huni comes out, like, you need to be ready for that shit because you know it still exists within him. So I think the best nickname for Huni would probably be the domesticated tiger. And that's not to say that this tiger is a fucking kitty cat. No, it still has massive claws and it will still fuck you up, and it still weighs a ton, right? So with that said, yeah, Huni has been this domesticated tiger that has, for the most part, calmed his tendencies to go fucking buck wild. But when he does it in such an exceptional manner, and he's able to actually destroy entire teams just by his plays alone. And I think that has made him extremely valuable, and I think this summer split is actually one of the best that he's ever played in his entire career.